If you take a look at my pinned tweet on my profile on Twitter, you'll see that I have a video dedicated to the 7.25 in Warzone 1 in the Verdansk days. And if you take a look at what I'm using, it's a sawed-off 7.25 with Slugs. It was such a fun build where you could get one-shot headshots, and there was even a dismemberment bundle that you could use with it. It was 2 shots. It was so much fun. It was just such a great gun and very speedy. I always used it when I was looking for a great time. But with the release of Warzone 2, we didn't really have that luxury until now. With this dual trigger we have for the Lockwood 300, we can now take a dive into the past and go back to the days of Verdansk and use what I call the Goomyville Slugger, which is a nod off to the Louisville Slugger baseball bat. And you'll see that this thing actually is pretty damn ridiculous, but most importantly, it is a ton of fun. So today's video is dedicated to the Lockwood 300 with Slugs, and more specifically with the sawed-off barrel. So first we'll get into the build, and then I'll share my thoughts on it and go over some stats with it. This is my Goomyville Slugger build. As you can see, we're rocking the Bryson Special Barrel. The reason for that is because it's fun, it's really small, and it gives us a lot of speed and aim down sight speed, which is really nice. And we're offsetting its wider spread with the Bryson Series 12 choke. We're also using Slugs, of course, the high stock mod to make it even more small and speedy. And then we have the Maelstrom dual trigger. Now, there's some fun things to note about this and some quirks that we're going to go over. The first thing I want to talk about is one-shot potential. Now, one thing I did mistakenly say in my last video was that the nerf that Slugs got with this most recent patch took away the one-shot potential to the body with this gun. Well, it seems like that's not the case. As long as you have chest shots mixed in and you're up close and personal out to about the 2-meter mark, maybe 3 if you're talking the base gun, you can one-shot kill to the body. Again, as long as you're hitting sort of above that stomach area. So yes, one-shot kills to the chest are entirely possible, but they're not really likely. It's more of a sort of back pocket, cherry on top type of situation where you're not going to be that close to people generally, but if you are caught with your pants down, you can one-shot kill someone that close. But the real kicker about these builds is that with Slugs and this Maelstrom dual trigger, you can in fact one-shot headshot out to ridiculous distances. Now with the base gun, meaning no Bryson Special Barrel, you can basically one-shot headshot out to as far as the eye can see from what I can tell, but the only issue with that is that there is some sort of spread. This is basically 2 barrels at once, 2 slugs at once, and most of the time they're pretty condensed and tight, but of course as you get further away, the slugs will start to kind of veer off from each other, and so it makes sniping at distances a little bit more difficult, and you might get a little bit more hit markers than you might think. And it's also making it harder for me to test because I don't know if both slugs hit or what. But from what I can tell, it can pretty much one-shot headshot no matter what. You just got to hit both of those slugs on someone's head. Now, when you use that Bryson Special Barrel, you are cutting down your damage ranges a little bit, but again, with this sort of build, it doesn't really matter. You're still going to one-shot headshot at ridiculous distances, but the only problem is this isn't really a super sniper kind of build, because at some distances, the slugs just start to veer off more than they do with the base gun, so it makes it harder if you're really trying to kind of quote-unquote snipe with this thing. But the real kicker about this build is that you are so fast and speedy, and you can aim down sights so ridiculously quick. This is something you can just run around with on resurgence modes and use as sort of a medium range rifle and one-shot headshot people. It's really a ton of fun when you use it like that. I'm not saying to go and snipe people, although if you want to try, go for it. By all means, it's fun. I'm saying post up at medium ranges, get up close in people's faces, and try and get that one-shot kill with this thing. Yes, you only have 1 shot, but the reload time isn't really that bad, I promise you. This thing isn't that difficult to deal with when it comes to reloading. Now, the real challenge in using this is, of course, you have to be accurate, and you only get 1 shot, and you gotta hit the head. If you're not point blank, you gotta hit a headshot, which is pretty difficult to do. It's definitely a high skill, high reward type of build. Now, it's also difficult with this particular build because with the high stock mod in that barrel, you are getting a lot of aim down sight sway. So you'll notice if you move left and right, your iron sights kind of veer all over the place, which makes strafing and sniping, or quote unquote sniping with this thing, a little bit more difficult than normal. If you want, you could use a laser, but I think this build is just more catered to close range and medium range. And as long as you're not moving too much, you can probably get your one-shot headshots pretty easily. As you'll see in a lot of the clips, it's not super difficult as long as you have good aim and you just don't move around or jump around too much. But like I said, the true strength of this build is how fast you are when it comes to moving, and also how fast you can aim down sights. Just be warned, like I said, if you're trying to really snipe people from really long ranges, it's probably not going to work very well for you with this build. I can say it's fun to try and see if maybe you can get a ridiculous clip that you want to post on your social media or something, but generally unfortunately, it's not going to happen, and there's quite a bit of luck involved since, of course, you have to aim, but also the spread, you're at the mercy of the slug spread. So just be warned of that. This is a close range / medium range rifle that you want to be hitting headshots with, and if you do that, I promise you, it's a monster and it is so much fun. That's just about going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this trip back down in memory lane, visiting the early days of Verdansk with the 725. This is definitely something that kind of brings back those vibes. So let me know down below in the comments, what do you think about this build? What do you think about the Lockwood 300 with the dual trigger and with slugs? Do you like to do a lot of sniping with it? And with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video.
Mark the target.